Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angela Brennan and today I'm bringing you Spellbinders Club Kits for June 2024. Here I start off with a stitching die of the month. There's a few, not too many dies, and I show you how I die cut them all in white card and then I do some inking on it. I use the stamp wheel from New to place my die cuts on it so they don't move, and then I do some inking. Pretty straightforward. The thing I like about these themes are they're all about the summer, and we are coming right into the summer and it's perfect. There are a couple of sentiments here that comes with this die set, so I use that, but I also use the Glimmer of the Month sentiments. So I'll show you how I do some hot foiling as well as use the embossing folder. I place all the die cuts onto the stamp wheel. It's a sticky mat there, so it stays in place while I'm doing the inking. And I use my New inks because I've got loads of New inks. Use whatever inks that you have in your stash. This way, you can reduce buying colored paper or patterned paper. You just need white card and you can create any color paper with inks. It's one way to keep the stock or the products in your craft space to the minimum. So I do some gradation of colors because I wanted to show some lights and shadows. And then after I do the inking, then I do the stitching. Pretty straightforward how I do the cards here. I just follow the etched lines on the die cuts and I do some stitching. When you're inking the die cuts, it's good to have a few sizes of the blending brush. I do have a variety of sizes. I use the small blending brush, the mini blending brush, as well as the detailed blending brushes from New to get into those little nooks and crannies and to add the shadows and lights as I see fit. It just helps to get your ink application more accurately. I really hope you enjoyed the video and find it inspirational. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And when you do subscribe, remember to press that notification bell so you're alerted when new videos are uploaded. I do lots of Spellbinders Club Kit videos, which I hopefully will inspire you as well as give you a guide on how to put together and assemble these die sets, as well as their core collections that they release every month. I'd really like to hear from you to see what you think of all of the tutorials, because it gives me a guide as to what I can add to it to make it more useful or more inspirational to all of you out there. I make 3 cards with this stitched ice cream die set. I show you how I do the cones with a double scoop. I show you how I do a cone, a smaller cone, and I just show you the one the traditional way with just 1 scoop with a full cone. You can do so many different ways to use this. You can do a triple scoop, you can just do the scoops. There's very versatile these dies. For the smaller die cuts, rather than do ink blending, to show the shadow and light, I find it easier to color it with my Copic markers. And to make sure they stay in place when I'm coloring it, I place them into the press and seal so they stay in place. It's one way. I didn't want to put them onto my sticky mat because these alcohol markers will stain the sticky mat and then I'll have to clean it again. So I just find it easier to do it on press and seal. Now when I'm using the stitching, I use Luca S threads. They're 100% cotton threads, but they're about half the price of a DMC thread. So I just find it more economical to use them. I'll link them in the description below so you can check it out and see if it's something you want to use. I've just found them just as good, and I just think to put it onto card, it's good enough if you like. It doesn't fray and it holds up well when I do the stitching. So I'm happy with it and I've been using it for a little while now. I secure the start of the thread at the back of the die cut with cello tape. Easy, and then I can start stitching by following the etched lines. These threads come in 6 strands. Now you can use 6 strands. It'll be a little bit snug when you're sewing or when you're stitching. I use 4 strands, but in the scoops I do, in one of the cards I use 6 strands and it was a little bit snug stitching. You know, it's up to you really. I use a Tice 24 tapestry needle from DMC and it works. I secure the end of the thread at the back of the die cut with another cello tape. It's just nice and easy and you can't see the cello tape at the back. For the bottom part of the cone, I use a slightly darker thread, so you can use different colored threads just to give it a bit of variation. And here I follow the crisscross or the etched lines that are on the die cut. I do one side of the slant or the diagonal stitch all the way. But when I come back and do the other diagonal, I I kind of weave the needle through the thread so it's not lying on top. So there's a bit of a weave basket kind of look with the thread. I just think it looks better, but it's really up to you. So I just move the needle through the thread and go to the other side of the die cut so the thread sits between the other diagonal stitched threads. I hope that makes sense. All of the products I've used are listed in the description below, so it's easy for your reference. I also show you how I hot foil the sentiments here, and I also do negative hot foiling. All the hot foiling here, when I tell you about it, it's all using the GEMINI Foilpress Machine. I don't have the Spellbinders Glimmer machine, so I can't tell you about it, but these are all my experiences when I do positive hot foiling and negative hot foiling. It's based on the settings and timings for the Foilpress machine from GEMINI. For the backgrounds of all the 3 cards that I create in this video, I do ink blending and embossing with the embossing folder of the month, the 2D embossing folder of the month, to give it a nice backdrop. I do some inking after embossing as well, just very light white pigment ink embossing. I hope you really like how the cards turned out. I think they're a bit colorful and I really think they look pretty. Do let me know in the comments what you think. I would really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Wait till the end of the video so you can see close-up pictures of all the cards, and I hope it really inspires you. For the scoop here, I used the DMC variegated thread, so it's quite colorful, the thread, because I thought it would be nice to have some variation of color on the stitching on the scoop. Despite for this particular scoop, I also have a variation of color of the scoop itself. I just think it just, got all kinds of scoops nowadays, gazillion types of ice cream flavors. So I thought I'll have some fun with it while I make these cards. I really hope these summer themed cards are inspirational, and all of the club kits, this particular release is all summer themed and how ideal when you're just coming into the summer. That's why I like to store my Spellbinders club kits by theme, by month, unless if they are sentiment heavy, then I tend to keep them together. But then again, it depends on what type of sentiment. Like this month, it's very much summer themed sentiments, so I will store them with the month club kit. I hope that makes sense. I mean, we've all got different styles because I just find it easier to find what I need that way. Thank you so much for stopping by. Happy crafting, and I'll catch you at my next video. Do take care. While waiting for my foil press machine to heat up to setting number 3 for negative hot foiling, I use the coordinating die to die cut all the hot foiled or positive hot foiled images of the sentiments from the Glimmer of the month. It's so ideal to have all the sentiments together like this, so I've got a whole load ready for all the cards and projects I'm going to create. When I do negative hot foiling, it's all about ensuring that the plastic that you remove at the top is clear so you know all the foil is transferred successfully. This is the 2D embossing folder of the month, and I spritz some water in the back of the card panel just to soften the fibers a little bit, so when I put it through my sandwich through the embossing machine, the card does not crack and I get a beautiful embossing as you can see here. What I do is I take my white pigment ink and very lightly swipe it on top of the card, just lightly. Remember, pigment ink can smear, so be careful when you do it, and I just leave it to air dry before I do anything else with it. I think it just adds a little bit of loveliness to the embossing and highlights the embossing, which is quite subtle, and it's lovely for a background. And with most of my embossed panels, I use a foam sheet to give it some dimension, as well as to ensure that the card panel that's been embossed is not warped, and to keep it straight. It just gives that card that extra lovely finish that makes it look professional and elegant.